Hello, everyone, and welcome to my page. I'm Dorothy Guyton, and I set this up so that I could have dialogue, but it's actually monologue about various subjects. I started, I think, this page back in 2008. In 2009, I was discussing books that I have published. I'm an author, and I have a master's degree in religion, and I'm just concerned about issues today that seem not to be addressed or distorted, where facts can be found here and there and everywhere. So it's almost time to say, this is a fact, so you must believe me. We're going to have to do something else, because you can pull up miles and miles and miles of information that says it's fact on one subject, two different views. Like the Civil War, the North was praying to God to intercede and help them, and the South was praying to God to intercede and help them. Both said they thought they should be helped by God in their intents, because it was really coming from a pure place, humane place, and what have you. And a lot of these hate groups, they pray before they go out and rob banks in Oregon. They would pray that they would be successful, that God would grant them to have money to pursue their crusades that they're in the wood, armed to the hilt with, and financing with robbery. So we see that you can pull facts to support what you want. Out thin air, it's all kind of people saying, trust me, I'm a professional. I know. I didn't go to school, but I have wisdom. I went to school and I have wisdom, and they don't. So now it's just about truth test. What you're saying and proposing sound reasonable, logical, humane, coming from a good heart. And that's what we have to say, because that's the final thing. No matter what you're doing or what you're saying, if it's coming from goodness and kindness, it can be felt and believed. You know, you don't have to point it. Look here now, believe me. It can be felt coming from you. It causes no harm. It's something someone wants to gravitate toward. I want to have this because it's nice. It's kind, and we're not doing that anymore. We're just screaming. This online page said this. This group online said that, and it's just so cultish. It has just become cultish, and we're not talking with each other. We're just throwing facts like arrows and daggers at each other in anger and frustration, because you don't understand. So those are just things I want to look at, but I'm going to look at them in a particular way. I created 4 personas or characters to take on various issues, topics, funny things, myths, what have you. Whatever the character feels like doing that day within their vein or their lane, it'll happen. Now, let me just go back one more time for a second. I told you that I was an author, and that I have written books, and I have manuscripts now, and hopefully I'll get back to writing someday. And I do poetry, and I'll talk about that again. But my very first book I wrote and published, it was just something that happened. I had been keeping a diary of my flower garden daily, what was happening, what was going on, the plants' names, so I could remember them. And I just decided to turn it into a book. And this is the book here. Diary of a Wannabe Gardener. Because that's what I was at that time. And I guess I still am a wannabe gardener. But that journal I did in that year is absolutely hilarious when I look back. I had no idea it was that funny. And now I'm part of a group on Facebook. It's Black Girls Grow Gardens, and they are hilarious. And they on Facebook, Black Girls Grow Gardens. And give me a shout out, Dorothy Guyton, for sending it there. But the humor and the just freedom to just be and say and think and enjoy nature and others and dirt and bugs and just such a simple slowdown in life, just to take a breath. Nothing frantic going on, manic, no deadlines, no anything. You can just sit there and stare at one plant. And believe me, we all have a favorite plant that we sit and stare at. So if you ever can, look me up, Dorothy Guyton, and just check it out. All my books are available on Amazon. The price is not out of control. And I post flowers on this channel also, so you'll be seeing videos of my garden and things I like, okay? The next book has to be the inspiration for me ever putting a pen to paper. And it was just something burning inside of me that through my studies and how I was handled in the religious world, the preacher world, the pastor world, the church world, I just felt I needed to say something. And this is just, man, this is my heart. This is my love. And the book is called When Will Eve Be Forgiven? You know, I don't know when it became the thing to do to give women negative connotations with devious, deceptive, liars, manipulators. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, if we created in God's image, we just cannot be so hard as a whole group as people insist we are. So I went back and did some studying Greek and Hebrew on the perception of women. I went to some of the oldest church fathers' writings and saw what they thought and wanted to be the definition of womanhood. And so I break down so many things, and I just believe it's time for us to stop it. Just stop this labeling and name calling of women and saying we're inferior without saying we're inferior. You know what I mean? So this here, if I had one book that I ever wrote, this would be the book that I would encourage you to get and read. It's easy to follow, even though I'm breaking down Greek and Hebrew. It is just magnificent. It should be a family legacy from grandmother to mother, from mother to daughter, from that daughter to her daughter, and on and on. This right here is something that the woman's spirit needs. It really does. This is a jolt of you're okay and you are loved and you are seen and you are fine, okay? So When Will Eve Be Forgiven was my second endeavor, but this here was actually my journey on earth, my talent, my gift personified. I think it was accomplished in this, if nothing else, and of course my children. Always your children are your greatest gift. And the last book I published is The Politics of Prayer. And like I said earlier, North and South both prayed to God, asking for help. And you say how, what, who did God answer? How do we know who he stood for was right? Because everyone just claims. They'll pick a reason and say, see, he was with me. See, he was with me. See, he was with me. So I look in the Bible, and actually in Jesus' ministry, of course, there was politics going on. And the Bible is full of directions when it comes to authority and those in charge. And we don't look at them. We don't see them. And I also went through history, looking at leaders and what they thought. Of course, America was built on the foundation of religion, freedom of religion. So we had a lot of the forefathers giving opinions about religion. And I just go through that because now it's so polarized, my goodness. And I do believe in separation of church and state, because you'll end up with one person ruling everything, your religion, your government, and everything. And people say separation of church and state is a bad thing. But I break it down and look. In all my books, I just impose a different way of thinking. I'm not trying to instill anything or force you to change or, good gosh, I hope not be a Jezebel or Delilah in your thoughts and how your philosophies, but I do raise some questions and some answers and some thought and some, oh my God, I never knew nobody felt like that. And that runs through all my books. So this book here is The Politics of Prayer. It's a pretty good book just to know what people have said, quotes famous people have said throughout our history and even biblical statements about politics. Okay, so I got all of that out of the way. And now I'll go back to telling you a little bit more about this channel, okay? All right. Overall, I just want to have discussion without anger and bullying or name calling and stuff like that. Just a pleasant place to land and have a thought, hear a word, move on. Life is good. So that's what I'm doing. And I will go back to author mode on a lot of things when I want to teach or instruct. But for now, what I'm doing now is just really just a discussion of things I think about. And I don't know, hopefully you'll comment and say things you think about. But I invented 4 personas to help me in this endeavor. And one of the personas is Satan. I said that Satan is a personality that you'll be running into. And Satan is appearing because he really wants to get credit for everything destructful that is happening, all the chaos and havoc. He do not want anyone getting credit for that but him. So he will be popping in here and there, letting you know what he's got going on, what he's doing. Everyone knows his intent. And sometimes some Bible chapters may be used because Satan's in the Bible. But we'll be using a lot of things to let you know what Satan thinks, you know. So he will be a character that's coming in and out on this channel. Also, we have a character without a name. And I left the character nameless because it encompasses so many people. And I just felt like I shouldn't give it a female or male persona, but just a whole entirely general grouping. And that's called mentally speaking. It's time, people. It really is time. I was involved with a page about being bipolar. And the people have been bipolar for years and years. And one thing that I noticed was they felt very wounded and hurt that people couldn't understand, would never understand. They couldn't have empathy and put themselves in the same place. And I was like, this illness you have been diagnosed, living with, trying to maintain it because there's no cure for mental illness. And the one place you're still at is, why don't people understand me and my mental illness? And I think that is the wrong approach. I think the approach now is, let me understand my mental illness, how I function with it, how I monitor myself, how I regulate myself, how I do self-healing, how I do positive things that help me move. Know you and what you need to do for your depression or your mania or your being overwhelmed. If you cannot understand you and your patterns and the things that you notice happens to you when you're manic or depressed, like I said, how can anyone else understand you? So this isn't about others understanding you, but for us the we that have mental illness to start understanding us and operate the best we can in us. Outer things don't come anyway. It's outside validation. It's outside saying, okay, you're all right. You need to stamp yourself first. And when you say, today I'm depressed, I'm usually depressed for 2 or 3 days where I stay in the bed and I don't do anything. And then after that, to move. That's how they understand. No one can understand this if you can't understand it. Just saying I'm depressed and you should know I have problems is not a guideline for anyone being able to help you. And mental illness is so personal. Of course, there's a general part to it, but then it gets down to specifics for you. So now I think we need to shift gears to take time to look inward and understand mental illness. So that's what I'll be doing with this character. Mentally speaking, we'll be dropping in, speaking on topics, trying to give a bird's eye view of what it is to live with mental illness instead of saying, why can't y'all learn to understand? So I'm just going to take a different stance on that. The next one is Sexy Sand. Yeah, Sexy Sand. That's going to be good. Because Sexy Sand, Sexy Sand is just going to look at womanhood. How it's been defined, what women think womanhood is, what men think womanhood is, how we're raising our children to understand womanhood, how history speaks about womanhood. Remember my book, When Will Eve Be Forgiven? How people speak on us. And Sexy Sand is great because people only think a certain kind of woman has problems. The beautiful women born gorgeous and sexy, they have no problems. And then they're put into sometimes a box where people only see their beauty. And they have to live that almost like a prisoner. I must be beautiful. Because that's what I'm identified as. That's what people view me as and interact with me as. And then they are in their own prison of trying to stay beautiful, with Botox and facelifts and liposuction and everything. Billion-dollar industry, wigs, makeup. They're doing so much under pressure and still come out taken lightly. So I'll be addressing women's issue, past, present, and look who we are in the world. People think if I'm in America and everything is central to me, what happens here happens around the world. And that's just not, it don't even happen state to state like that. So womanhood is viewed differently. In the South and the North and from the East and the West, it's just differently. And then wonderful island Hawaii view women in different ways. So we're going to have Sexy Sand dropping in, speaking on those things. And the last persona I made is Eazy-E. Eazy-E is cool. Eazy-E has a form that she calls, whatever, My Black Rap. My Black Rap is going to be just sitting around also, talking about black issues of color, issue of shades of black. We always talk about that. And then the hair. It's been going on and on and on and on. So I just want to bring my little bit to the game of my blackness and what I see and how I feel and how I understand it. And Eazy-E is so cool that he does spoken word poetry. Yes, sir, yes, ma'am. This person here got it going on, And they are with Black Lives Matter, of course. Black Lives Matter. And speaking on that in various ways and breaking it down. It has just become, if you say Black Lives Matter, people become offended. I don't know why that would offend anyone for me to say my Black Life Matters. It's just ridiculous. We're just in a time where we just need people with voices, speaking up, waking up. I hate to say waking up, that's so cliche. But just delving. We saying we need a conversations between blacks and whites. We need a conversation between blacks and blacks. We need a conversation between black men and black women. Like I said, everything has to start from the inside and go out. And that's the same thing the Bible say. Your home has to be in order before you can go out and get others in order. It's just that way. You have to test, the hardest test is you. And if you can change yourself, if you can become what you ask other, you're free to go. You're free to go. So the things I speak on are things that I'm working on, overcoming, leaning into, learning, being open-minded, and that's all I want and ask. So there you have it. Everything about me, Dorothy Guyton, author and mother, proud mother and wife. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So thank you all for this time and allowing me to do this introduction, and hopefully I'll be seeing you in the future. Okay? Everyone, take care.